here.
Welcome
podcast.
to You Didn't Notice Either.
This isn't my job.
It's,
my job
but you
is
could hear
this.
it.
Are you going to argue with me?
Yes. Yes, I am.
Wow.
Well, you know what? We're actually about the time where I got to restart the cameras.
Okay, so
anyway.
this is basically our intro.
Okay, so we're not. Dude, we do this in our garage, and it has limited electrical capacity. And we have an air conditioning unit out here that I have rigged in the most ridiculous fashion.
If anybody saw it, they would think, wow, what a freaking crackhead.
It is the most tweaker setup ever.
Yes.
I got this 20-foot aluminum tube going through. It's literally going over a couch right now, up above our washer and dryer.
It is.
Being the hot air being projected out of the window.
Yeah.
And it's important because this is a garage. It gets super hot.
Yeah.
And I try to turn it on. I try to turn it on an hour before we start the podcast. And that's what I did today.
Mm-hmm.
And I came out here to set up the cameras, and the damn thing was off because the surge protector tricked it off. It clicked it off. And so it was hot as hell in here. We had to start the podcast late. I had everything set up, and I didn't turn the air conditioner off.
Honestly, we would have gone the whole thing without me noticing.
Neither of us noticed.
It's like white noise.
It is.
Yeah, so you just don't realize. So, yeah.
And it was quite comfortable.
It was very comfortable. I can already feel a like rise in temperature.
It just got so
like
much hotter in here.
I might have to remove my flannel.
It just
by the
got
end
so
of
much
this.
hotter
Yeah.
instantaneously.
Yeah.
And we got to wait till it's later in the night, too, for the sun to go down or it's too hot.
I feel like right now, things are just so weird. Like, I cannot wait till the school year is over for the kids.
Oh,
because
yeah.
then I don't have to worry, like, oh, it's a school night. Like, it's still a school night regardless right now. But, like, oh, then we can at least, like, not have to worry about stuff. Like, we can come a little later.
Yeah. All right. Well, anyway, we did an intro, but quick summary. We'll summarize again.
We don't need to.
We had a busy weekend. I had a crazy 36 hours. I had a sold out show at the Comedy Store. The following day, we had a garage sale, which we did very well at, despite being very unorganized.
Mm-hmm.
We sold over $150 worth of our crap,
Yep, we
which
did.
is shocking how much people will buy old used clothing. I would
Yes.
never buy used clothing.
Sophie loves going to garage sales for used clothing.
I don't get it, but that's what we sold mostly.
Yeah.
We sold a lot of stuff.
I bought a wedding dress. That's used clothing, right?
And we can't sell it.
And we can't sell it. Yeah.
No,
I
because
don't know
no one
why
else
I bought
wants
that.
to buy a wedding dress.
I know.
Well, I took a picture on Instagram, posted it to my stories, and so many people were like, "Are you selling your wedding dress at a garage sale?"
I just find it really odd that like the lady across the street on the street over from us, like she passed away, so her daughter like sold all her stuff, and like I bought her wedding dress.
It's weird.
And I don't really know why. I just felt connected to it.
And now it's sitting here creepily on a dress form in our garage, and every now and then I come in here and flick the lights on, and it creeps the shit out of me.
I know, it kind of scares me too.
It's just like this little ghostly silhouette in the corner.
Yeah,
Sometimes you
it
can
is.
see it when the lights aren't on,
yeah,
just like a little
it's a little
bit.
scary. Yeah, it's a beautiful dress though. It's vintage silk.
Vintage silk.
Yeah,
Yeah.
can't get rid of vintage silk. I can't even say it.
Well, we tried. We tried to get rid of it,
Yeah,
and
it's
nobody
true.
wanted it.
Yes.
No one wanted
Yeah.
it, but
I
we
don't know,
did.
It's beautiful. I'm gonna chop it up and let Brooklyn use it as a dress up.
We did
dress.
sell a bunch of crap, though. I sold a bunch of wood panels that were supposed to be on this wall at some point that I never put up. I bought them for like $75, sold them for $10. Totally lost my ass on that one.
Yeah.
But had to get rid of it. Sold some shelving units to our neighbor. That was
yeah.
that
Which
was nice.
He hasn't come over and asked.
He must have figured it out.
Wow.
He's a smart guy,
Yeah.
self-sufficient man.
Eric's the man.
So yeah, but then about 3/4 of the way through, we were about to wrap up the garage sale, and then I got a call from my friend K. Francis Norris in Indiana, comic friend of mine, a guy who I've known on the internet for probably like 10 years. We never met in person,
Yeah.
but he's also a rapper, and we got connected in music terms at some point. We've been trying to figure this out. We can't figure it out. But anyway, he's a comic now as well. He was like the first guy I ever knew, even though we've never met in person. First guy I knew that did stand up, and he was trying to connect me on this show with Jamie Kennedy a few weeks ago, and it was kind of falling through. And then last minute, as we were wrapping up the garage sale, he hit me up, was like, "Hey, Jamie wants you to come host the show. Come do it." So I had to scramble, get ready, go drive all the way out to Corona, California to do this show in an outlet mall. I didn't know what to expect, but it ended up being a sold-out show, over 500 people, and it was incredible.
Yep.
But then from
Super
there, I had to immediately drive to another show in Hollywood, and I was dead tired. I mean, that was a crazy 36 hours. And then We woke up this morning and we were gonna potentially try and do the garage sale again. We decided to scrap it. We were both tired. And then we went to Costco and just, it's too much.
Yeah.
Sorry, Babs. We're redoing the intro.
Yeah, I know.
Here.
It's hard
I know you
it's
already
hard.
talked about
Yeah.
it, but talk about it again because no one else knows that we talked about it.
We love and we hate Costco.
Strong love-hate relationship for Costco. People get in the way. Just the lack of self-awareness and spatial awareness in Costco is
Yes.
remarkable.
Yes,
It
people
really
suck
it
and
really
they're
makes
rude.
me lose faith in humanity every time
Do
I
you
go.
know that on
to
next
Costco.
door, people were saying that people have been like breaking into cars in that particular parking lot?
Really?
Yes.
At the one we go
Yes,
to?
the one we go to.
See, I like the other one.
No,
Yeah,
no,
I like the other one. It's better.
no.
All right, before we jump into this topic, I got to restart the cameras. Let's go.
Oh, okay. All right. So today's subject is going to be one of my favorite subjects to learn about.
Okay.
The Oregon Trail.
The Oregon Trail.
The Oregon Trail.
You know, it's funny. I feel like a lot of times when you bring up these topics, they seem like they should be so obvious to me. Like I should see this coming,
Yeah.
but I never do.
Yeah.
I never do. Because you're full of so many random interests.
Oh, yeah. I know. Well, I think I lived in the 1800s.
I think maybe you did too.
Yes.
I think your oxen drowned in a river and then you died of dysentery on the Oregon Trail.
I don't think that happened.
No?
But I do think I lived in the 1800s. Maybe I was on the Oregon Trail at one point.
Did you love the game though when you were a kid?
So
I
I
loved
only
it.
played it in 3rd grade, and like obviously every kid our age loved that game. But at the same time, like, do I remember everything from it? No, I don't. I don't know.
I remember you could name your own characters.
Don't remember that.
So in the Oregon Trail, you could name your own characters.
I remember what the oxen looked like.
Okay, so what I remember from the Oregon Trail is that you could name your own characters, and because it at a certain point, like if a character died, like say if I named it Ricky, it would be like Ricky died of dysentery.
Yes.
But I would always name my character like I would name the character like a really fat guy.
Like
And
like you would call
That
it.
would be the name of the character, a really fat guy.
Oh, so it would say.
And then it would be like,
really,
yeah, it'd be like a really fat guy died of dysentery. And 3rd grade me was
You
like,
just thought that was
"Oh,
hilarious."
I am so funny.
Wow.
Yeah.
Even back then, you thought you were really funny.
I've always thought I was hilarious.
Wow,
Yeah,
okay.
yeah.
I remember you could hunt.
Yeah, I think,
You
could you?
Yeah, I think.
Oh, yeah, you
so.
had to.
Yeah.
You had to get food.
I'm pretty sure I remember that you could hunt. And
If you just tried to cruise through that game, like, you died quick.
yeah, I remember the hunting part. Squirrels. Can you shoot squirrels?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, I remember that. I love squirrels. That's not cool. Those
Did
are
you
my
ever
friends.
Get to Oregon in the Oregon Trail in the
I
game.
don't know.
Because I don't think I did. I think I always drowned in a
I
river.
would have no idea, but I definitely remember I died.
I always died in that
Yeah,
game.
a lot.
But you had, like, everyone had to die, though, for you to, like, lose.
Wasn't there parts where like part of your party died too, and
Yeah.
like that affected your like?
Mm-hmm. It
I
would
don't
be
know.
like, it would be like Gary died of cholera. And you're like, you
Yeah.
now have more food.
Oh, okay. It affected it in a positive way.
Sometimes, yeah.
Okay.
Sometimes Gary had to die of cholera.
Yeah. Well,
Why do I always go to Gary? Why is that my go-to name?
I don't know. Maybe you were a Gary in a
Was
past.
I Gary on the Oregon Trail?
Yeah.
I think I
Yeah.
was.
Probably.
All right, the Oregon Trail.
So anyway, the Oregon Trail, which is very exciting, and I love learning about it. The Oregon Trail was a 2,170-mile route starting in Missouri, Iowa, or even Nebraska, traveling to Oregon's Willamette Valley.
So it was the Midwest.
Yes.
Okay.
Where's Missouri?
The Midwest.
Oh, it was? I thought
Yeah.
it was the East.
Well, Missouri's like kind of like that. It's kind of a weird Midwest, almost the
Okay.
South, but it's
Yeah.
the Midwest.
Okay,
Yeah.
whatever.
I could be totally wrong about that.
I
never
was
been to
thinking
Missouri.
about my globe, but it's down on the ground, so I
Oh, I
can't.
have been to Missouri. I've been to Kansas City, Missouri.
Oh, isn't
yeah.
there a Kansas City, Kansas also?
They're across the river. They're
Why
yeah.
is there a Kansas City, Missouri?
You know, I don't know. I'm not really sure.
None
The
of-
ironic thing is that more people know about Kansas City, Missouri than they know about Kansas City, Kansas.
Why? Oh, because no one goes to Kansas.
Yeah, well, no, they're like kind of the same city, like literally like right
Aren't
there.
they sister cities or
I don't know.
something? Okay.
I'm not sure.
Well, anyway, the
I
trail.
ended up there in 2004 on tour.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, cool. The trail was originally.
This is how my wife has always been very excited about my rap
Yeah.
career adventures.
Yeah,
It was a fun time.
that's great.
I had a great time.
That's cool.
Maybe I should have hopped on the Oregon Trail. You would have gave a shit.
I would have a
All
lot
right.
more, yes,
Okay.
than your rap stories.
What if I'm going to do a rap tour along the Oregon Trail? How about that?
I support it.
Would you do that with me?
Yes. Are you? Yeah.
Well, you're not invited.
Oh, whoa. The trail was originally created by fur traders and trappers from 1811 to about 1840.
Okay. Fur traders and trappers.
1811 to 1840.
Okay.
So, a lot of time. I mean, people came to America in like the 1500s.
Yeah.
So, this whole area was just like uninhabited.
So trappers meaning people that trapped
Fur trappers.
animals.
Fur traders and trappers. Yeah. Yes.
Trappers now are guys who sell a lot of weed and stuff on Snapchat.
Oh, I didn't know that. No, they like used to trap like beaver, and which is really sad. I read Lewis and Clark because they're the ones that like were sent by the president to like go find like a land, whatever,
Right.
or not a land one, a waterway that went from east to west.
Yes.
And when you read the diaries, it's like saw 7 beavers today. And then
There
the
was
next
just an
day is like,
abundance
we
of
saw
beavers?
16 beavers today.
Dang, dude.
Yeah, every one of them is like all these beavers that they just keep seeing. And it's like, but then they kill some of them and it's like, oh, that's really sad. But yeah, a lot of beaver.
But they had to do that.
Yeah.
A lot of beaver. Hey.
A lot of yeah. So anyway, the first wagon train moved out west from Independence, Missouri in 1836. In that time, the trail only went as far as Idaho. Over time, the trail continued to stretch further and eventually all the way to Oregon. So it didn't
was it
always,
the Idaho Trail at some point?
No, not necessarily. I don't think it
Everyone
had a name.
knew
I don't think it had like a name at one point. Like
was
I think it
just
was just like
The
go
trail.
due east.
It was just the trail. Due
Oh, it
west.
would be west.
Due
Yeah.
west,
Yeah. All right. Whatever.
Look at a map, Babs.
I know. Yeah.
A basic map would
I
have been
know.
good for studying the Oregon Trail.
Maps and math. Those are not my two
Not your strong
suits.
points,
No. So anyway, from 1846 to 1869, nearly 400,000 people traveled the trail, with nearly 40,000 of these being children.
Wow.
Isn't that kind of gnarly?
That's
Could you
wild.
imagine bringing Brooklyn on something like that?
Oh, no. Oh, no.
Or even an infant, or being pregnant,
Oh.
or being old.
Well, back then, those families, they had like 4, 5, 7, 9 kids.
Yeah, they did. Yeah.
I mean, they had to go into that going like, well, at least 2 or 3 of them are going to die.
That's terrible.
I know. It's
Oh.
very dangerous.
Very dangerous, yes. The Oregon Trail was not only a trail that people used, there was also or not the only trail that people used, sorry. There was also the California Trail, the Mormon Trail, the Bozeman Trail, and the Santa Fe Trail.
The Mormon Trail sounds but it was just a bike path.
I don't know. A
You
bike
didn't get
path?
that joke went right over your head, didn't it?
No, I don't
Yeah.
know much about Mormons.
Mormons
Well,
on
'cause-
bikes.
oh,
They ride bikes.
They do?
Okay, carry on.
I don't know much about Mormons.
fine.
I'm sorry.
That was a solid Mormon joke that
Well, someone will
skip
laugh.
right
I'm sure
over.
somebody will laugh. I
Yeah.
don't know. We never had a Mormon come to my house when I was growing up. Not one.
I knew some Mormons.
It just didn't happen. Not in like rural
My
Washington.
friend down the street, his family were Mormons.
Okay,
Yeah,
that's cool.
and they didn't celebrate.
I have nothing
certain
against
holidays.
Mormons. I had friends that were Mormon,
So you did have more. So,
but no one came like knocking on our door.
Your Mormon friends never knocked on your door once.
No, they were like little kids, but like no, like not.
Wouldn't that
the
be funny if
ones-
they were little kids and they knocked on the door? They were like, "Can we tell you about Mormons?"
Yeah, the Latter-day Saints. Is that?
Yeah,
Mormon?
yes, yeah.
Okay, so yeah, we had some of those.
Yeah.
It was fine. Their families were great. I actually like had a lot of fun playing with those kids. Yeah.
Dude, Mormons kick ass, dude.
Yeah, they were super fun. So anyway, in 1869, the first transcontinental railroad was finished, and the trail began to be less and less traveled. In today's world, such highways as Interstate 80 and Interstate 84 travel along parts of the same route as the Oregon Trail and even pass through some towns that were created specifically for travels on the trail.
How bummed would you be if you took the Oregon Trail in 1868, like 4 of your family members died, and then the next year you could just get on a train?
I know. That's sad. You know what's crazy is that some people might even drive that interstate that like their ancestors may have passed on. I know.
Creepy.
Yeah, ghosts.
Ghosts.
Travel through the Oregon Trail was done primarily in covered wagons, also known as prairie wagons or prairie schooners,
Dude, I think about
that were pulled by oxen.
yeah, the oxen, they always drown in the river
Yeah.
before Gary got cholera.
Yeah.
That usually happened first. I think about I'll drive through bad roads in LA, like drive,
Yeah.
like in a modern car with rubber tires. And that's a paved road, just a poorly paved road. Could you imagine how uncomfortable just cruising across like just a complete dirt trail that like went over rocks and mountains in wood
No.
with wooden wheels?
Yeah.
Dude, never in a million years.
Mm-mm.
That sounds so awful.
I think it was. So the wagons were constructed out of wood, and they had canvas tops. They were typically about 4 feet wide and 10 feet long, and made from maple, hickory, or oak.
Dang, only 4 feet wide? That's
Yes.
pretty narrow.
Yeah.
I don't know why I always pictured them being a little wider.
You should see pictures, actually. It's really interesting. They're like really cluttered.
Okay.
Like there's no room for people in them.
I mean, 4 feet wide by 10.
Yeah.
That is tiny.
Yes. Well, I mean, yeah. Yeah.
That would suck.
Yeah.
This
it
sounds
would.
awful. I would never want to do this trail. I'd be like, we're staying in Missouri,
There
guys.
are, I think, isn't there like, what's it called? Reenactments of some sort? Not like the Oregon Trail, but like what it was like. Like I've looked into it to go.
Why am I not surprised that you've looked into
Yeah,
this?
but to like be on a covered wagon and like see what like I looked into it and it was like someplace and like you could ride on a covered wagon and then you get to like spend the night in like the wilderness and I don't know like
Just vlogging on a
I don't know
covered
but it was like
wagon.
so expensive and I was like I'm not paying $600 for like one night.
$600 to pretend to be poor in the 1800s.
Yeah,
That sounds like an awful
it
experience.
was so expensive and I was like wow that sucks like I want to do it but not for that much.
That sucks. I want to do it.
Yeah, yeah I know. The wooden wheels had iron rims to make them tough enough for the long journey. Many families had to use basic farm carts that were much smaller, making them less roomy for travel. So think of more of like a 3x4 feet.
That's the space you had to work with?
That's what some families had to use instead of the big, huge covered wagons.
Oh, so you were doing good if you had a 4x10.
Oh, yeah. Yes. That was like the limo of
3x4. That's like one of those
an
tiny
Escalade or a Suburban.
That's like one of those tiny little tow U-Haul things.
Yes.
That would suck.
Yes.
Oh man.
Yeah, it would have been really hard. And that you have to think these people were moving to a new land. So like they had their possessions in there. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like so you want to like make sure it was taken care of and you wanted to make sure you had the things you wanted and needed, but at the same time like it's rickety and I don't know. It's just must have been really hard.
And just to go out to Oregon and like open a microbrewery.
Some people went all the way to California too. They like veered off, but yeah, microbrewery.
I'm just trying to think of Oregon stereotypes.
Oh, okay.
Portland,
I'm not sure any if
hipsters,
I know
strip
any.
clubs.
Yeah. Okay.
Did you know that?
Hip what?
Portland has the most strip clubs per capita in the United States.
Really? That's
Yeah.
random.
Super random,
One of
especially for
my-
like kind of such like a woke kind of city. You know, it's like very
Mhm.
hipstery there.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, anyway,
Well, my grandpa lived there and passed away. My great grandpa
in Oregon or
in
Portland?
Oregon, Clackamas, Oregon.
Clackamas.
Clackamas. Maybe I'm saying it wrong. Maybe it's Clackamas. I think it's Clackamas.
Okay, I
Yeah.
believe you.
Clackamas County, I think. Anyway, yeah. He actually has cool pictures that I have from the 1800s, and he's like some cool, like pioneer looking guy. So
Chill.
maybe he I don't think he went on the Oregon Trail. He was from Oklahoma, so it
I
wasn't
mean,
maybe
what year?
it was
we
like
know,
18 something. I don't know what year.
Post
he-
1869, you just got on a train. We just learned that, right?
Yeah, I don't know what year, but it was in the 1800s. Anyway, many families had to use basic farm carts that were much smaller and less roomy for travel. I already said that. Families had to fix their wagon and wheels many times along the way, and most wagons had a bucket underneath filled with tar and tallow for greasing the wheels. You had to grease them. Some wagons were full of supply. You had to grease them because they would get like worn and
Yeah,
old.
they have
and-
to rotate.
Some wagons were so full of supplies that many travelers had to walk alongside the wagons during the trip. So
Dang,
remember,
that
it's
sucks.
2,100 and like something miles, and a lot of people had to walk.
Mostly walk it.
Yeah, actually, I read a book, "Children of the Covered Wagon," and great book, and that's in part. Actually, I don't even think it was that book. It was probably Land of Enchantment, which is about the Santa Fe Trail, which was an equally great book. The girl's brother chose to walk most of the time, and he would walk right alongside like horses and oxen, and he just loved it.
Get those steps in.
Get those steps in.
That man was healthy.
Yeah. He was a young boy, actually.
That boy was healthy.
At times, people had to discard items from their wagons to make their wagons lighter for the animals who often became worn out or tired, hungry or thirsty. When traveling the trail, you would often see tons of discarded items along the way. Tons.
Just like Coca-Cola cans and
No, like dressers and like big things like chairs and stuff that like was heavy.
dead oxen.
Yeah, probably some skeletons. Yeah.
Gary.
Yeah. Gary.
Cholera.
Yeah.
We forgot about Gary getting
I
cholera.
forgot. Yeah, I was like, who is he
everybody-
talking about?
God, man. No,
Yeah,
no
sorry,
respect.
no one cares about Gary. There were many chores to do while traveling the trail, and wagon trains acted as a community when traveling, dividing up responsibilities between people. Children would help wash dishes, cook, look after the younger children, and when no firewood was available, children were sent out to find buffalo chips to burn in place of firewood.
Go gather the poop.
Yes, that's exactly what it is.
Bummer.
Yeah. Wagon trains also traveled with herds of livestock, and sometimes children would be in charge of watching over the herd when cowboys could not be hired. Cowboys were kind of expensive. You couldn't always hire a cowboy.
Wait, cowboy? You hired cowboys?
Yeah.
I just thought cowboys were just like
Well, if they had cowboys
desperado
in
types.
their family, like maybe they would have them there, but like yeah, otherwise you'd hire cowboys. You'd also have to hire like a I guess I didn't add this in here, but you'd have to hire like a I want to say a scout, but that's not the right word. Like someone that like leads you, a guide. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, and so there were people that like had done this numerous times.
You got to get like a Sherpa or a coyote.
It's kind of like a Sherpa, but
Yeah.
it's yeah. And in
Or
fact,
it's a cowboy. It's a guy who really likes Luke Bryant. He's like,
he
come
would-
on,
I don't think
Oregon's
he-
this way.
Yeah, I don't think he would be a cowboy. I think he would have just been like a guide. But yeah, you could
Why
also.
did you hire a cowboy? What did the cowboy do? He
They-
robbed banks and shit, or
No, they. Do you know what cowboys do?
yeah, they shoot people and
No,
stuff.
they keep track of the cows, the herd. You had
Well, it's very
huge-
literal.
yes.
I just imagine like a bunch of guys in Texas with big belt buckles and lifted trucks.
No, they actually kept track of the cows. The cows were super important. Like if you're going to a new land, you need that livestock. You need the livestock A for food and B to reproduce so that you have food for years to come.
Dude, how many miles would they cover a day? Like a mile and a half?
We'll get to that.
Okay.
Yeah. Wagon trains also traveled with her. Oh, I already said that. Gosh, what? I am not putting little marks on my notes. Foods that most pioneers ate on the trail was bread, rice, hardtack, bacon, beans, potatoes, apples, salt pork, cornmeal, corn cakes, also known as Johnny cakes, or even cornmeal mush.
What the hell is hardtack?
That's the crackers.
Oh, we talked about
Those are the
this.
crackers.
And-
They're literally made of like flour and water.
That sounds awful.
People hated them apparently.
Ugh.
But they lasted a long time and they were a staple in the 1800s.
That was the cracker that you thought that I
thought
knew
you
about?
knew, yeah.
Like I knew anything
Which,
about
by
the
the way,
1800s.
what you apparently knew was salt pork.
Yeah, we discussed salt pork.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
I thought you knew about hardtack, which
I knew
apparently you
nothing
didn't.
of hardtack. Nope,
Yes.
nothing.
They also
Nothing.
drank coffee, tea, and sometimes alcoholic beverages. When they had no tea, they made their own with sage, sassafras, and mint.
The look on your face was like I should be very like,
My name was Sage and Sassafras.
oh, is that why?
I didn't know
Or is this
that.
just a
It
coincidence?
was coincidence, yeah.
I
But like
forgot.
now I feel like I should change it back. This is why I don't think I should
No.
say what my name is.
You're Bilbo.Babbins. You can't ever change it.
Okay.
You should probably
Um,
just make it your name.
I don't like my name.
What do you mean?
I don't know.
You married me just for the last name.
Oh, the last name's fine. The first name sucks.
Babs Martinelli. Make
Oh.
it Babs Martinelli.
Maybe. Maybe
Come
I
on.
will.
Come on.
All
I
right,
love
all right.
Bilbo.Babbins.
Do you?
Sage and Sassafras was, I didn't know. I was like,
It's
that's,
very Western. I like
I don't know.
whatever.
It was very hippie. That's what it sounded like to me.
I like that too.
It sounded
I'm
like
okay with hippie.
it was like Palo Santos and like you were like had crystals. That's what I pictured.
I have crystals in our bathroom.
Yeah, but
I'm
you're
not one of those
You're not
people.
one. You're not a crystal
No.
person. You're not a crystal hippie.
No, I'm
You're not
not.
like,
I just
this
like
one-
rocks, actually.
You're not like this one realigns my chakras. Like
Oh no, trust me. Like I feel like they don't really do anything. But I mean that's cool, the people that do.
they
but
look cool.
I actually just think rocks are cool. So anyway, there were many hardships on the trail, and people had to deal with harsh weather from extreme heat and sometimes downpours of rain and even dust storms.
Oh, that would be awful.
Yeah, I know.
That would be so awful dealing with like crazy weather in a covered wagon.
Yes.
Oh.
All you could do is just pull the thing tighter, like the top canopy,
That
canvas
would
canopy.
suck.
Yeah. There was poor sanitation, and because of that, the people often got sick. People also got dysentery, smallpox, measles, mumps. Are you gonna really do this with everyone? Influenza, cholera,
Gary.
mountain fever.
What's mountain fever?
I didn't really look into mountain fever.
Mountain fever sounds like
I
one of those
can't-
things like when you're really into mountain men or something.
Whoa, yeah.
Like you have like
I
a
have
lumberjack.
a case of mountain fever.
Yeah, like you have a lumberjack fetish. You're like,
Yeah.
oh, I've got mountain fever.
Yeah. That's actually pretty funny. Didn't even think of that. And people also got scurvy.
Ooh, scurvy. Scurvy's making a
Yes.
comeback.
Yep, scurvy's making a comeback.
All right.
People sometimes died from. Well, I don't know if you
Well,
remember.
we abandoned the scurvy episode though, didn't we?
I think that's going to be a Patreon thing.
Yeah,
or
it's gonna
something.
be a Patreon.
I don't know.
Lost episodes
Yep.
on Patreon.
People sometimes died from lack of water, rattlesnake bites, alkali sickness.
Oh, rattlesnake bites. That was something you could die of in the game.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yes.
I forgot about smallpox though. I always went dysentery and cholera, but smallpox was definitely one, and rattlesnake bites
Yeah.
was one.
So apparently, rattlesnake bites was a little less common, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like people didn't get bit all
I
the
died
time.
all the time of rattlesnake bites in the
Not
game.
true. Not true.
Dude, we should bring that. They should. You know what they should do? Oh my god!
What?
I just had a genius idea.
What?
Well, because like the Oregon Trail was like that was a big hit in our
Yeah.
generation. We loved that game, but like it was such a crappy.
Ooh, wait, like a
Quality game.
okay, so how you
Like
play
a-
God of War, but like
Yes.
Oregon Trail?
Yes.
Holy crap, that would be
Right?
I would play that game.
Right?
Yes.
Like
Yes.
like Grand Theft
Bring
Auto
it back.
open world style, like
Exactly like how you would play it before, but like the
modern
modern
graphics, technology.
weapons,
Dude.
food. You have to cook food. Your
Come
guy has to like
on.
survive.
Come
You
on,
could
let's
get
go.
cold. That would be so much fun.
That would be
I
a
would
huge
love
hit.
that. Great
Well,
idea.
Red Dead Redemption. Remember I used to play that game?
Yeah. Yes, that
I'm
was
surprised.
I used to play that game.
Did you?
Yeah, I just
Oh, well, you
used to
used
like
to just
ride the horse.
horse.
Yeah. That's all I did.
Yeah.
Which was fun.
I don't know. Also, the Oregon Trail here. Okay. Also, though, that game would be painfully slow and boring at the same time.
I think they could do something to make it not so slow. Because, okay, so one thing I didn't include in here is that you would also make your way to certain forts. There were many forts along the way because there were wars. There was like the Civil War and there was like Spanish-American War. I don't know if that has anything to do with the forts.
there
but
were wars.
There were wars.
Wars.
And anyway,
General wars.
I think the forts were also set up to, and this is sad, but to keep an eye on the Native Americans.
Mhm.
So they would create these little areas where the Native Americans weren't really allowed in, and they could also survey the area.
Mhm.
I think that has a lot to do with the forts.
Okay.
Maybe more that than
So the forts,
wars.
those were kind of like the checkpoints.
Yes. And so they could go into these forts, which were huge, and they would be kind of protected by walls from any kind of Native American attacks or whatnot, which I actually will get very, very mildly into.
So were the trails though, like were they like clearly marked?
No, absolutely not.
Okay.
No, and people could veer off in many different directions. There were
Choose your own adventure.
kind of, yeah, like an R.L. Stein book.
That's how people died on the Oregon Trail.
Yeah.
They went across the rickety bridge and then fell into a chasm.
Yeah, you never know what you're going to get.
Yeah.
That's how the Donner Party actually died.
They veered.
They veered, yeah. And also, they were not making good time as far as I remember. I actually have to go back to my book. I was going to include the Donner Party, but I didn't want to make this like too long.
Yeah.
But yes, they made a crucial mistake. And because of that mistake, they got trapped for the entire
Winter, right?
winter. Yes, it was so bad. And by the way, not everyone ate somebody in the Donner Party.
Oh, no, I know.
The Donner
yeah.
Party was like multiple little cabins because they must have like found an area or built cabins or something because I can't remember. And I didn't just recently research it. But there was like one instance in my book that I have where they were like, oh, the lady down the street like ate her husband. And like they were all like really, really disturbed by that. So it wasn't like this huge cannibalistic like family.
That lady ate good though.
Yeah, I guess, but that's so creepy.
I know.
How would you feel if your legacy was like your wife ate you?
I mean, if I was already dead and it meant that
No.
you survived.
That's gross.
I mean, if I die, if we're ever on the
Whoa.
Oregon Trail,
Yeah, you'd eat me?
I didn't say that, but you know, you could eat me.
I'm not doing that.
I don't know.
You could hunt. There were.
I've
did
eaten
you
a
know
lot.
there was-
I've eaten a lot of tacos. I would argue that I am fatty and delicious.
Okay. Farty and delicious.
Okay, sure.
Just kidding.
You.
I'm just kidding.
You.
I'm joking. But there were
You're not though.
there were chicken hens. Chicken hens? Is
I
that
thought
a
you were
thing?
gonna say chicken heads. I was like, what?
No, there
There
were
was
hens.
just ratchety little women on the.
There were hens that lived in the plains, and so people did hunt, like not just for like squirrel. But anyway, back to the deaths. Alkali sickness, which was drinking water with too high of a pH, which I did not know you could die from. Did you know that?
I don't know. I guess not.
Oh. Me either. And sometimes by being run over by covered wagons. Native American attacks were less common and not a major death threat, despite the fear that most travelers had.
Okay.
Yeah. That was like a huge, huge fear for
Yeah.
people. It was like a scary thing. I mean, you would hear stories, so you would like be, on edge about that. But it really wasn't as bad as they thought it was.
The rattlesnake bites were probably more common.
I don't know. I don't think those were very common either, from what I read. It took travelers around 6 months to complete the trip, and they typically did about 10 to 20 miles per day. There you go.
10 to 20 miles a day.
Mm-hmm.
Like, could you imagine
Think
that?
like on foot though. Like that would feel like like a good successful day of
I
travel.
drive like 50 plus miles a night just to go do comedy
Yeah.
shows.
Yeah.
And they would go all day long.
Yes. Some parts along the trail were dangerous, and they had to cross rivers and go on parts of trails that were narrow and relied on hand-carved notes by previous travelers indicating if water sources were bad and how long it would be till they reached fresh water.
Dude, that's like The
Sometimes it
Walking
was
Dead.
days.
That's like The Walking
So
Dead.
they would like get to like an area where they were like thirsty, and they're like, and they'd see this like, either a lake or a reservoir, and they would see a sign that was either etched in wood or rock or whatever that would say
Blood.
like, do not drink.
Yeah.
Not blood. And there
I
were
just picture The Walking Dead as like a zombie
something-
infected, written in blood.
Yeah, well, it was like a big deal. So there was also signs that would say like, no fresh water for 3 days. And so you were screwed.
Yeah.
You had to just figure it out. And another thing I read about that is not in here, but in the books that I've read that I have, sometimes when they would go past like a reservoir or a lake that was dried up, but it had really high alkali pH balance, but it was dry, so it was like powdery white.
Yeah.
They would like wind would blow it towards people, and it was alkali dust, which I think is like lye. It could make people really sick. It could burn your eyes. You didn't want to inhale it. Like you could get really deathly ill from it.
Dude, everything about this trail sounds terrible.
It was really hard.
I feel like the underlying theme here is that like you died.
Death was lurking
Like you died.
around every corner,
Yeah.
even though there were no corners. But yeah.
No
Yes,
corners.
No corners, yeah.
No corners.
There were plenty of babies born on the trail during these journeys, and many people died on the trail.
Yeah, sounds like it.
Yeah, there
was
was
like
life
50
and death.
different common deaths there.
To this day, you can still see some of the graves whose headstones have been updated and markers have been placed of people who have died on the Oregon Trail. There are also still imprints of covered wagon tracks that can still be seen today. Those who made it to Oregon had other hardships to face in a land of wilderness that was underdeveloped, but most of those who made it made a new life for themselves and their families. But they also had to, embark on a whole different way of life.
They're like, we made it, but smallpox took out most of our family.
Yeah, that happened.
Yeah.
And not only smallpox, but, every other kind of injury. Like some people got ran over by their own wagons. I read a story about a girl who did, and she had a lame leg
Oh, that's lame.
for the rest of her life.
Dad joke.
That's so sad.
All right.
Yeah. So, my sources are OCTA trails.org, LAtimes.com, Archway.org, OregonTrailCenter.com, OregonEncyclopedia.com, and the book Oregon Trail Stories that I have and love.
All right, the Oregon Trail.
The Oregon Trail.
The Oregon Trail. We did it.
Yeah.
A lot of ways to die.
A lot of ways to die.
Cholera, smallpox, lye dust.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, wow.
Yeah.
It just sounds like such an awful journey.
Yeah.
And
it
like,
was hard. It was real, but you have to think like there was promise about land and starting over fresh and having access to things that maybe people in the Midwest didn't have.
Yeah.
You know, really fertile land and just beautiful places that they've never been to.
They're like, you got to get out to Portland.
Yeah.
There's so many microbreweries and witchcraft stores.
Yeah, a lot of coffee shops.
Yeah, it's really, really chill.
Yeah. So it was a big thing for families, but a lot of people did it. And
All right.
thank goodness they did, because, you know, this is probably why, I was going to say why we're here, but that's not true, because your family is from the East Coast.
My family did not travel the Oregon Trail.
I don't think mine did either.
No.
Actually.
No, they did
So,
not. No, they did
yeah.
not. All right. Well, Jedediah has died of dysentery. I think will probably be some sort of a title of this episode
That
here.
was Gary.
Yeah, I gotta need a new name. I need
Yeah.
a new default name to fall back on because Gary's losing. Yeah, Gary has died.
Gary sounds like very 21st century.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
It's just a standard name for some reason. I don't know why I lean into that,
Yeah,
but
that's okay.
I think
There's some cool Garys out there.
Jedediah has died of smallpox.
Yes.
That's the episode title.
I like it.
Okay.
All right.
All right.
All right.
Okay. New
Fun
Oregon
fact.
Trail.
Oh, fun fact.
Fun fact.
Fun fact.
Fun fact.
Dysentery.
There we go.
Yeah.
All
I
right.
didn't want to say it while you were talking about dysentery.
That's the
much.
one that I always used.
Yeah. So dysentery is defined as an infection of the intestines resulting in severe diarrhea with the presence of blood and mucus in the feces.
Lovely.
Super cool. Yeah.
Lovely. This is a really fun fact.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. There are two types of dysentery. Bacillary,
Mm-hmm.
caused by the Shigella. I hope I'm saying that right. Bacteria. You can get this type from swallowing contaminated drinking water or by exposure to feces after sexual contact with someone who has a Shigella infection.
Wait, so dysentery is an STD?
Well, no, not necessarily.
But it can be.
I don't think it's classified as that because it's a bacteria.
Yeah.
So I don't think an STD is considered a bacteria, is it? I wouldn't know. I've not gone that route, luckily.
Yeah.
But it's so when I was reading about it, it literally was like, did you know you could catch the Shigella bacteria from sexual intercourse? And it talked mostly about like the gay community because of, you know, how you can catch it through feces. So
a lot of potential dysentery in West Hollywood.
I don't know, but honestly, I didn't know that. I've never heard of that. And obviously not just like, you know, the gay community can be affected by it, but I was like, whoa, this is
A lot of people
so people are
a lot of
getting
people
diarrhea afterwards, and like they don't even know that they just got dysentery from the dude that, you know.
A lot of people doing butt stuff these days, not just the gay community.
Exactly. I'm just prefacing the article that I read, and it specifically stated that. But yeah, obviously, like there's other communities that are affected.
Yeah.
Don't want to just, you know, single
Dysentery
out.
sounds awful. Like you just imagine shitting yourself to death.
Yeah, well, so it's a little different. It was a lot different back then, like Oregon Trail wise, because they were in the middle of nowhere. They had no access to anything.
I think that's why I leaned into like dysentery was the most memorable way to die on the Oregon Trail. Because when I was in like second or third grade, I was like, he died of diarrhea. Like that was the funniest way to die.
Yes, it's not as bad in the modern world. So the other type of dysentery is amoebic, and the amoebic dysentery parasite lives only in humans and is passed from the feces of an infected person. So basically, the symptoms of I thought I went into that a little bit more, but I guess not. You would have to like touch something to your mouth if somebody had touched any kind of feces or something. But I think I do say that somewhere in here. This type can infect someone who puts anything in their mouth. Here we go. That has touched infected feces. The symptoms of dysentery, and the symptoms are the same for both. It's either one, which one you get, it's the same thing. They can vary, but most experience pain in the abdomen, bloody diarrhea, intermittent constipation, fever, fatigue, vomiting, and flatulence.
There's a lot of crossover here between dysentery and just eating at Taco Bell.
Yeah. So I have to admit, because remember I got really sick in New York.
Oh, yeah.
Except I didn't have diarrhea.
Yeah.
But I was like vomiting constantly.
Yeah.
I actually looked up one time, like, did I get dysentery? But
You
like,
just got New York dysentery.
I don't know. Well, because you can get it from also infected. One of them's from infected water. Yeah, the first one. You can get this type from swallowing contaminated drinking water. And then my like brain shot to the one time.
To you thinking that
Yes.
taking fire hydrant water from a street in Bushwick, Brooklyn, and
Yes.
rubbing it all over your face was a
They do
smart
it in
idea.
movies.
Yeah, movies they film in Los Angeles.
Yeah, I thought that everyone does that. I was like, this is what they do in movies. It was so
No.
hot out, and I was
No.
like, oh.
You're like, oh, let's just take this potentially infected dysentery
Didn't
water,
even
and rub it all over my face.
That never crossed my mind. I wasn't like, this water could be really disgusting.
So, okay, I just want just quick backstory. We went to New York City and Babs got really sick, violently sick.
Like, to this day, it's a mystery to me. Like, did I almost die? I think I almost died.
Violently sick. And we have narrowed it down to 3 potential things.
Oh my
okay?
gosh. It's not the hot dog.
Hold on. We've narrowed it down to 3 potential things, okay? First of all, the first night we were there, one of my good friends happened to be in town.
Yes.
And we went hard. We got hammered.
And I hadn't drank, by the way, in a long time.
And last call in New York is 4 a.m. And we shut an Irish bar down. I mean, like, we were fucked up.
Yeah.
We got hammered.
Yeah.
And but earlier in that day, Babs had decided to rub fire hydrant water on her
Before
face.
the drinking commenced.
Yeah, in Brooklyn,
Yeah.
like literally under the
it was
elevated
really
train.
hot out, and
Yeah.
it was coming out of a fire hydrant, just like in the movies. And
Yeah.
you see like little kids playing and doing like double dutch and all that cool stuff in the
Yeah.
water.
Yeah.
And so I was like, hey,
Hey, let's
this is
rub
what
it on my
everyone does in New
face.
York, right? My first time in New York.
Yeah. And then the following day, we just thought Babs was hungover, so we went to the museum.
Yeah, which I drank a beer thinking, oh, this will cure my hangover, which usually would.
And
But
on the
I
way
still felt
walking,
like shit.
we went to the Natural History Museum.
Yeah.
We're on the way into the Natural History Museum. Babs decides it's a good idea to get the greenest looking
What
hot
was
dog
that?
cart. I think it probably stopped recording. The greenest looking hot dog.
That is such a lie. I feel like when you say that, I'm picturing like a Ren and Stimpy illustration with there's like hairs.
That's
and,
what
like,
it looked like. It had a
there's
Band-Aid on it.
sheen to it.
Yeah,
a Band-Aid. No.
Band-Aid on it.
No, it was literally, it was just like a little like dried out.
Yeah.
And for some reason,
It
I was
was
like,
gross.
I think I just didn't feel good. And I was like, I need to eat something.
Yeah,
and I always
so-
wanted to buy a hot dog in New York. So
Yeah.
I was like, this is what I'm doing.
So if you're watching this on YouTube, comment what you think got Babs sick.
Please
It was
don't.
probably the
Please
fire
don't.
hydrant water.
I think it might have been the water. Yeah.
Okay, anyway.
So anyway, most people who get dysentery get better within a few days, but it can be fatal to young or old individuals, those that are malnourished, and those who become severely dehydrated, which is what I did. I had to get an IV because I was so severely dehydrated. Treatment for dysentery consists of fluids, IV fluids, oral rehydration therapy solutions, and antibiotics. For a healthy person who is able to hydrate at home, meaning they get plenty of fluids with water, salt, and sugar, and potassium, and manage the fever, they can expect to see relief from dysentery after 3 to 7 days.
All right.
Yeah, so you can survive it, and it still happens to this day. People get dysentery. It's a thing. It's in poop. Yeah.
All right. Well, Jedediah died of dysentery.
Yeah.
What's a good Abraham? What's a good Oregon Trail name?
I liked Abraham. That
Abraham.
was great. Yeah.
Abraham died of dysentery.
Benjamin.
Benjamin. Benjamin's a good one.
Yeah.
Benjamin
A lot
di-
of Benjamin Franklins back in the day. We had a Benjamin Franklin Ralston in my family.
Oh, look at you.
Yep.
Oh, fancy pants.
Yes. My sources were cdc.gov, medicalnewstoday.com, nhs.uk, and clevelandclinic.org.
All right.
Yes.
Well, we learned about the Oregon Trail.
Yes.
We learned about the leading cause of death for all people named Benjamin on the Oregon Trail.
Yes.
Benjamin died of dysentery. I think it's going to be the name of this episode.
Yeah.
And fascinating, but nothing about that shit sounds interesting to me.
I love
like
reading.
I would never. And not that the everything that you just told me wasn't interesting. Like the idea of it is very interesting, but I would never do that. I would be like, we're staying in Missouri, guys. They got water
you
here.
gotta think about it. Like from that point of view, they were like, we need a different way of life. We need to change our. They were stuck. I mean, this is the 1800s. Think about being stuck in the middle of Kansas, and you're like, Oregon.
I mean, I get it. There was a point in our life where we were like, we got to get out of San Diego. But if it involves 6 months in a 3x4 covered wagon and me potentially
4x10.
4x10 if we were doing well 4x10.
That's true.
If it meant 6 months in a 3x4 covered wagon where I had the risk of potentially shitting myself to death.
Yes.
We're staying in San Diego at that rate.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah.
yeah.
Well, anyway, but it's interesting to this day. I still love reading about it. I think it's really interesting. Some of the accounts of people that have survived, some people had a great time. Some people enjoyed it. People that were well off, people that were prepared. They had a great time, and there
were just
many
partying, having campfires, drinking White Claws.
And you know what? Some people did have little campfires. Some people did have a great time, and there were plenty of guides and scouts that genuinely enjoyed it and enjoyed doing that for families and did it multiple times. So,
I think in a past life, you were Benjamin and you died of dysentery.
Thank you.
Yeah, that was meant to be a compliment. So,
thank you.
All right, guys. Well, that's it.
Bye.
Hold on. We gotta do the promo.
Oh, sorry.
We have to make this. If we want this to do well, we gotta tell people where to find us.
I don't know this part of this. Like this is you.
Well, I do. Please make sure to like and subscribe to the YouTube channel. Please make sure to subscribe and leave a review wherever you listen to your podcast. You can follow us on Instagram at According to My Wife. You can follow me at Rick Martinelli Comedy. You could follow Babs at bilbo.babbins, which it sounds like she's going to change 500 times.
Yeah.
So whenever you listen to this podcast.
So don't follow me.
Just go to add According to My Wife, and both of us will be.
It'll be updated.
Yeah, both of us will be tagged
Every time
in
I
there.
change my name, it'll be updated.
Yes. So, and don't forget to leave a comment and let us know which of the 3 possible scenarios you think got Babs violently ill. And we'll see you next time.
Toodles.
Right. Bye.